I'm the right awkward William Pilkington Smythe, and welcome to part 2 of World in Peril. Yesterday, it was reported that Universal Credit has been inundated with in excess of 950,000 new applications as people are forced into asking for assistance in a desperate attempt to get some money coming in to try and stay afloat in this global economic catastrophe in progress. The scene in Titanic comes to mind, where Rose DeWitt Bucator is clinging onto a wooden headboard and poor old Jack is bobbing about in the freezing cold ocean, freezing his testicles off. Now, the question I ask is, there are going to be hundreds of thousands of people who, by no fault of their own, are forced into a default arrears of late or non-payments of bills, council tax, rent, mortgage, and any other pre-existing loans. So is all this going to affect their credit rating? An initial 3-month mortgage holiday was announced, which is good if that is indeed implemented by all lenders. But what about other bills? For example, a colleague's phone was with O2. The monthly bill came in online, and they tried to contact them to say that they didn't have the money, but there was absolutely no way to contact anybody at the company, either online via email, live chat, or by text message, and the phone lines were either extremely busy or not manned at all.
We're sorry. Your call cannot be completed as dialed.
So they couldn't pay, and presumably that will go against them on their credit rating. Now, let's delve into this a little deeper. If people are renting, will it affect any chance of any future renting somewhere, as a credit reference check takes place when you apply to rent a property? So, what is going to happen to those people in that situation? They're not going to be able to rent anywhere, and presumably they are unable to obtain a mortgage. So, where does that leave them? Now, this is just one example of a negative effect by default on a bill. There are, of course, many others that will be taking place on a daily basis. So, question, what is going to be done to help these people? Now, currently also making headlines is the government's new target for testing the population, with the figure of 100,000 a day by the end of April is mentioned. Currently, it's 10,000 per day. Question: how is this to be increased in such a relatively short period of time? We're also told that the current test isn't 100% reliable and should only be used 28 days after that person was infected. So, the whole idea has immediately been plunged into a loop of unanswered questions and uncertainty. Without the test, how do you know whether that person has had COVID-19 or not? And how can it be determined when they contracted it? In any case, the unreliable test hasn't officially been signed off for use anyway. It has not yet been established whether or not someone can be reinfected even if they have had it. Also, if a person has and are immune, can they be a carrier of the virus and contaminate others? All those unanswered questions render the idea of issuing a certificate to say a person is clear of the virus is redundant. Let's assume, for argument's sake, that all of the above questions have answers and certificates are issued. This would have to be an official document, like a passport containing a non-copyable chip. Otherwise, it will fall foul of pirate copies being manufactured. These, after all, would be highly desirable, as it would enable a holder of one to go out and about and quote to a normal existence. And one could argue that this could cause an uprise of social resentment by the have-nots. Now, this throws up another batch of questions. Whenever this global catastrophe ends, this could work detrimentally to the have-nots. What I mean by that is, could it hamper any attempt to obtain a new job, personal insurance, go travelling, etc., and obtaining visas to enter other countries? Moving on to another subject, deaths from COVID-19 are compiled from those who've passed away in hospital. There are absolutely, no doubt, many, many more who've passed away who have not been in hospitals. So the daily numbers released are in no way a true representation of what in fact is taking place. And the figures are no doubt much higher. In part one of this conversation, I mentioned the continuation of flights from airports, namely London Heathrow. Yesterday, it was announced that one of the runways was being shut down and only one of them was going to be used. This question, I asked, is still valid. What are these flights? Who is using them? And where are they going? Are these people tested in any way, outbound or inbound at the other end? Now, we've all heard about the government making funds available to banks to give to businesses who are in peril, which is the majority of the world, in fact. But we've had reports from businesses that this is an incredibly difficult thing to access, and in some cases the banks are actually diverting and pushing these people to their own products with high interest rates, and in a lot of cases these people are being asked for guarantees and collateral. Now, this makes my blood boil. What you're asking people to do who are in a desperate state anyway, their businesses are being lost, they have no money coming in, they can't provide food or shelter for their family and children, and these fucking arseholes in banks are insisting that they put up the very roof which covers those poor people's heads up as collateral in this massively uncertain period of uncertainty. It's just a fucking joke and an outrage. I say to banks, shame on you. Bloody shame. You're a lot of fucking greedy cunts. Give this money to people who need it and get on with it. It's not your money anyway. It's the taxpayers' money which the government has given to you for a purpose. Oh, God. Right. To close, there are still many people not appearing to heed the restrictions of going out. Businesses that are in no way essential are still open. People driving and milling around. Just what are all these people doing? Of course, there is no way of stopping the activity other than implementing martial law, like the Philippine president said. Those who disobey the isolation rules will be shot.
Everybody on the street.
I've been the right awkward William Pilkington Smythe. Please join me for the next exciting episode. Goodbye.